Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to part 4 of my current training split. Now I'm going to try to whip through this one a little bit quicker because I feel like the other ones were probably a little bit longer than they needed to be, but hope you guys enjoy that extra information in there. So just a reminder, I do 3 days weights on day 1, 3, and 5, and the off days are cardio / rest days, and I train abs once a week. So it could be one of those ab days as well. So for my push day, guys, my primary focus is the upper chest, and I'm doing that mostly with the exercise incline dumbbell presses. Now, I typically prefer dumbbells over barbells just because, honestly, whoever got injured doing dumbbells, but we know plenty of people that got injured doing barbell, whether that's flat most commonly or even incline, because I remember seeing that really bad pec tear with that guy benching with, I think, Larry Wheels. Obviously, he was lifting super heavy, and you don't know what the other state is as far as, if he was overtrained and blah, blah, blah. But still, there was a barbell there. It wasn't a dumbbell. And the thing is with dumbbells, guys, like on a serious note, you can stretch your pecs a little bit more. Unless you were to do like a cambered bar, I think is what it's called, where it has like the groove, the bend, where you can go a little bit deeper, kind of like mimicking dumbbells. Well, with dumbbells, you have a better range of motion in terms of like you're able to go out wide and then come in close. You're able to like move the dumbbell a little bit more as opposed to the barbell. You can't really do that. It's just pushing basically with the set hand position that you have. So you get to work more stabilizing muscles, and you get to work more, like, in my opinion, this could be hippie, but just improving ligament and like tendon and just strength in different positions. And like I said, you're able to be out wide, and then you get to come in closer, and then it's just better range of motion. Just, I think it's just better overall. And then I really want to focus on bringing up my side delt, so I do some laterals, and I really want to bring up my triceps too. So remember, I want to kind of do, say for like on like pull day, I want to improve my biceps, and on push day I want to improve my triceps. So I tend to put an arm movement pretty close at the beginning of the workout, and that's so that my arms aren't super exhausted. That way I can still give almost like a max fresh intense progressively overloaded set on the exercise, and then I just finish off like my back, and I finish off my chest with other exercises, where it doesn't necessarily have to be all about strength, because I got the main compound movement in for, say, chest, got a main compound movement in for triceps pretty close to the beginning of the workout, and then I just fry my chest basically with the rest of the workout with stuff that I enjoy. And I'll go through the stuff that I'm enjoying lately right now. And honestly, like push day it's pretty simple. Here's a little bit of an old shot of me, guys. Side tri, side chest. I'm much bigger. Most notably, I kind of looked at the shot, and I looked at my arms recently, and where your triceps are, not the lateral head, the head that's like visible on the outside, but the head that like lies close to your armpit, that's more visible from the back. That part of my triceps has grown so much that when I flex, it like pops out at the back. It almost looks like I have like fat there, but it's my tricep head. And on shots, like say the side chest, or when I'm just flexing my arm, like where my arm is bent perpendicularly, and I'm just kind of flexing it, it sticks out quite a bit. And I noticed that a few months ago, and I was like, oh man, like that's a new development for me. I never noticed that before. And just overall, my arms are a lot bigger, my chest's a lot bigger, shoulders a lot bigger, more developed, my traps are much bigger. This is just a nice shot of me when I was a bit leaner. That's why I wanted to kind of show you guys what I'm working with. But I have made a lot of gains. So once I finish off this series of eating for fat loss, and I actually plateau out with the calories that I'm currently dieting on, and I stop losing weight on that, and I know that that's my leanness that I'm going to obtain with these calories, which is going to be pretty lean because I'm still losing weight, and I'm really getting there. It should be roughly around this level of leanness again, and then I'm just going to keep eating the calories and just maintain basically, and then I'll be able to actually do comparison shots and see how much I actually improved when I'm at a comparable body fat to see if I've actually truly gained muscle. So let's talk about a common mistake with chest training, guys. Now, the biggest thing is like, just because you bench a lot of weight does not mean that you're going to have a big chest. And truth be told, nobody knows if you're pressing 70-pound dumbbells, 50-pound dumbbells, 100-pound dumbbells. Nobody knows if you can bench 2 plates, 185, 275. They just see if you have a big chest and big arms. That's it. I mean, it's great to put up numbers and your gym bros will know, and like other people might look at you if you're lifting super heavy weights. But beyond that, if you don't have a good physique, like, I mean, it depends on what your goals are, obviously. But for me and my goals, this would not stack up to being like proper. And for a lot of you guys, it wouldn't either. So just make sure that your chest is actually doing the work. And for me, I had to humble myself, especially with the kind of form that I do, where it's like more controlled on the eccentric and pauses at the bottom, so that your chest is actually pressing the weight out of the bottom, not to mention all the way throughout the entire movement. A lot more control, guys, honestly, like especially with the form of pulling your shoulder blades back, chest up, slight arch in your back, but not too much. You don't even really have to think about the back arch so much. It's more pulling your shoulder blades back and chest up. Guys, it really humbles you because like you're using more chest, and then like you realize how weak your chest is, especially if you're like really strong in the shoulders and you're pushing heavy weights. Once you switch this form, you're really gonna have to humble yourself to actually be able to do this kind of form. But of course, you do strengthen your chest up, and then you start using the weights that you were using previously, and your chest is obviously way bigger because you're using the weights that you were using before, but this time your chest is lifting them, so you've actually improved on your chest. So just keep that in mind. You can have strong weights, but you have to be targeting what you want to work. And here it's my chest, so I want to make sure that my chest is doing the work. Now it's really humbling, and but you got to do it, because if you're going to do it, you got to do it at some point, and then you can work your way back up. So just remember, your chest wants to do the actual pressing, and that way you can actually develop a big chest. Otherwise you get these overdeveloped front delts and you don't really get an improvement in your chest, and it doesn't look the greatest, and you wonder why your chest is so small, and then you might potentially get injured because you're pressing too much with your shoulders, and it's just not a good thing. And unfortunately, it's a pretty common mistake, and you can actually see many people, even professional bodybuilders that do this for a living, make this mistake, and they have a hard time leaving their ego at the door, plain and simple, and using their chest, because initially you can't lift as much weight, because typically we all start out training chest wrong. And to make that humbling first move to lighten the weight, a lot of people don't want to do that. So think about that, guys. You're stuck the rest of your life not fixing a mistake just because your ego, like you gotta let it go. So this is your sign to let it go now. And just a reminder, guys, I'm a low volume, high intensity kind of guy. I think at this point everybody is, because of Mike Mentzer resurfacing. So I'm typically shooting for a top set to failure or just before. It doesn't always have to be to failure. And really it's just technical failure. So like you can do partials and stuff at the end to go beyond failure, but you don't have to heave the weight. If you're losing control and you can't do it the way that you want to do it with the technique that you're shooting for, then you've hit failure. So this can still be safe. Failure is not bad form. It's whatever form you want to when you can't do it anymore, with the weight and with the rep range that you're shooting for, then that is failure. And typically I'm going to add extra volume with drop sets and sometimes drop or back off sets, but it's mostly been drop sets really. And my rep range is 8 to 12 reps for the top sets and back off sets, about half that for the drop sets. And the drop sets typically I'll also do to failure or just before, because it just provides like an extra stimulus of another set to failure to build a little bit of extra muscle, and to make sure that I had enough stimulus of failure, and it builds up some extra metabolites, some extra stress for the body to have to clear out, so it stimulates a little bit of extra muscle growth. So the whole mastermind plan that I got for my push day is starting off with that incline dumbbell press. And remember, I do that top set thing and drop set with all these exercises, basically some variation in there, especially when it comes to like laterals. So after that big compound chest press, I moved to laterals. And laterals is really just to give my triceps a break. And so I'm ripping sometimes a lot of partials in there, so like I'll end the set and I'll go beyond failure with some partials, and that's just really because I just do the one exercise for lateral, so I don't mind doing the extra volume with some partials and some extra drop sets and some rest pauses in there too. And the rest pauses, if you rest like 10 to 15 seconds, crank out another like 5 to 10, rest another 10 to 15 seconds, crank out basically as much as you can, which usually ends up being like 5 to 10 with either the same weight or slightly less. And then I move to the tricep movement, guys, and it's usually just a 2-arm heavy press down, as heavy as I can go. My triceps have rested quite a bit, so I'm pretty much fresh for this tricep movement. So I really get to prioritize making growth on that chest exercise and making growth on that tricep exercise, so I can really build up those two over time, as compared to doing triceps towards the end when my triceps would be super tired. It's just better to do it closer to the beginning. And then I just rip off 1 to 2 more chest movements, and these are some examples of stuff that I do. Really just depends what's available, really depends what I feel like doing. And then I do some dumbbell front raises. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of overhead pressing. I find that I always end up injuring my neck. And I know that sounds weird, but no matter how light I go, no matter how controlled my form is, I can do controlled form for a good rep range, slow technique, everything perfect. Go to failure just before, and eventually I always end up pulling something in my neck or my back. So I just said, screw it, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just going to do dumbbell front raises, and I find I get a really good pump in my front delt the next day from the dumbbell front raises. So I've just been doing that, and I've been noticing growth in my shoulder. So it's a nice little switch over, so I'm just going to stick with it. And then I do the dumbbell 1 arm extension overhead, and I really like that one. I typically do 1 arm. You can do 2 arms if you want to save time, but I like the 1 arm just to focus on 1 arm at a time. So guys, honestly, we're getting pretty close to this workout routine, and I ended up throwing in some very good tips in my opinion, as far as just overall tips on working out in here. That definitely could be a part of a separate video in terms of my tips on working out and a beginner's guide to working out, which wink wink might be a video in the future. Really just breaking down all of the technical aspects as opposed to exercises and specifically, but we'll cover some exercises too. But if you kind of notice, guys, it's typically a main plan of the split itself, which is how many days per week I lift weights, and the general structure for my exercise selection as far as what exercises I'm focusing on progressively getting stronger, what exercises I'm focused on getting stronger over time with progressive overload, my main focus. And of course, there's a lot of room for spontaneousness, fun, and variety. Obviously, I'm a low volume, typically want that top set to failure with a drop set for extra volume and for an extra set of failure. An additional, and like I basically just said, additional volume is done with most lately drop sets, but also can be done with back off sets where you lighten the weight just a little bit, rest enough, and then go for the same rep range again to failure just before. But I really like ripping the drop sets, honestly, right now. And there's just a list of other exercises I could do. Literally any exercise could be on here, but these are the ones that I kind of typically do when I want to change things up. And honestly, what other days could look like when I'm just randomly feeling like hitting push day, but I don't feel like doing the planned mastermind workout. Well, today I'll come in, warm up the pecs with pec deck. I'm not going to go as heavy. Let's say, feeling a little sore or whatever. My back's a little sore from the last back day. I'm I didn't get enough sleep. I don't want to go super heavy. I don't feel like PR and whatever. I'm just going to go a little slower with the dumbbells, control them a little better, go a little deeper on my stretch, do a little extra pausing at the bottom. So I do that. And then I do dumbbell laterals or cable laterals for a change, rip a ton of drop sets on that, just get a nice burn in my lateral delts, do a little extra volume than normal. Maybe don't go as close to failure. Maybe do a little bit of more swinging with some negative control, so going beyond failure in a sense. And then some tricep push downs is my only tricep exercise, and then I do a little bit of single arm, let's say after, just to burn out, just to even up the right side and the left side, and I'll just call it a day at that, right? So you can have those kinds of days, because this workout is better than not showing up because you didn't feel like doing your perfect workout. So the whole takeaway, guys, really from this whole series is that consistency over time is what gets you success. You don't have to do the perfect workout every single time. You can do something, and over time it adds up, and that's the whole key. And as well, it's reflected in the fact that I only lift weights 3 days a week. You don't need to be in the gym 7 days, guys. You can go to the gym 7 days if you want. There's nothing wrong with that per se, as long as you were recovering properly, and you're probably not going to lift weights for those 7 days. Technically, I can be in the the gym for 7 days, but I lift weights for 3 days, and I'll do cardio for the other 4 days. And obviously it won't be intense cardio every of the 4 days. It would just be like 1 or 2 intense cardio sessions, then 2 lower intensity sessions, because you still need to recover from your cardio sessions, because otherwise your legs are still going to be sore and you're not going to be able to push hard enough on legs, and then your body's not going to recover because it's trying to recover from your cardio sessions. Then you won't recover fully from your workouts, blah blah blah. Your nervous system is going to fall apart. Bad idea. Recovery is still important, and just like a part of becoming better is like things will change. Guys, this is a guide of what I'm doing right now. Literally, I've already made some minor changes to my workout split already, especially on my pull day. Because as you kind of do stuff over and over, I remember I just started this routine like a couple months ago maybe, or like a month and a half. Like, you're going to find stuff that just works better. And like by the time I release these videos, if I make that change, I'm not necessarily going to make a whole new video series from a change a week later for a small change. But if I make big changes, then I'm going to do another video and update you guys on like what I'm currently doing, and you'll be able to go back and see the changes. But really, like, that's a part of becoming better. And hopefully, I've shared quite a bit in terms of what I do, and there's quite a lot of gems in here. So, hopefully you guys can take away a lot of stuff, or if not, like some of it. Pick and choose what you want to take from this to make you better. Yeah. And just, guys, over time, you should be getting stronger. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. A bigger muscle is a stronger muscle. It's not all about strength, because we're not strength training, but with more muscle, you will move more weight. Unless, of course, you're dieting or something like that, and you're kind of getting weaker. But eventually, when you plateau and stop dieting, in order to start building more muscle, you'll notice that you start getting stronger again. Once you start getting in more calories again, you'll kind of re-up back to the weights that you were doing before. And then because now you actually have energy to work out. It's not so much that you lost muscle when you got weaker, it's that you just don't have enough calories, which is energy to actually push and have a good workout. So once you have enough calories back in your system, you're actually going to be able to like push the weights that you're doing before. And obviously maybe you lost a little bit of muscle when you were dieting, but then beyond that, to progress, that you progressed with strength. So it's a really good idea to have that main plan and to always keep coming back to it, and to be testing to see if you're getting stronger, and to be focusing on getting stronger. Because that's a good telltale of if you've gained muscle. And if you're not gaining muscle, then what's the point of doing this, right? Because in terms of getting healthier and stuff like that, that's mostly cardio and diet. Like, yes, the weightlifting does make you healthy. It does make you less susceptible to injuries, and it does improve your bone density. But let's face it, like, the weightlifting is for strength, and it's for overall, yes, functionality outside of the gym. But if you're not building muscle and creating a more impressive physique and looking better, then like, what's the point? And guys, like, honestly, you got to take a chill pill. This should be fun. Like, if it's not fun and you're not picking stuff that you like, and remember, there's no exercise that you have to do. You pick the stuff that you want to do and try to be smart. Know that you need to keep things balanced. So don't just be like, oh, I like training only arms. You got to have some structure and some reasonable approach to this. But if you don't like what you do, then you won't stick with it. Kind of staying on that topic of if you don't like something, you won't stick with it. Guys, you got to understand that when you're new to something, like, you're not going to like it as much, and you shouldn't do too much for that reason. But over time, you will start to change your identity and become the person that likes to do this. So the more and more that you do this, the more and more you're willing to do in terms of like doing stuff that you wouldn't typically like, because now you're more interested in creating the more optimal physique, interested in having more balance, learning new things. You're going to be even more consistent at pushing hard in your workouts. You're going to be even more consistent as to showing up. You're going to be just more consistent. You're not going to want to miss the gym, because the more that you do this, the more that you do anything, the more that you reinforce that identity. And guys, I have a saying. It gets more difficult before it gets easier. It gets worse before it gets better. That's actually what I typically say. That's my saying. It gets worse before it gets better. And that applies just in so many different ways. But like, when you're starting a new habit, like, it's going to be so hard to break the old you and to become the new you. It's going to be like a fish swimming upstream. Guys, it's going to be a lot harder before it becomes a new habit. And that's when it becomes like subconscious, and then therefore obviously much, much easier to do. And those last 2 points, guys, don't skip your cardio. Don't skip your ab days. Your abs are a muscle. They need to be trained, otherwise they won't pop. Yes, your diet dictates how visible your abs are. And if you're at a higher body fat, then your abs are not going to show up very well despite them being very developed. So it's a mixture, but in order to have more impressive abs, guys, yes, you have to be leaner, but everything looks better leaner. You have to train your abs to get them to look more impressive. It's just what you have to do. And guys, cardio is good for your health, but it's also good for your weightlifting, because if you have a better heart functionality in terms of like oxygenating your blood and removing wastes, then you can actually recover better in between workouts, during a workout, and also you're actually going to be able to push closer to failure for big compound movements that require a lot of like breathing and a lot of like energy. So you don't end up having to rack the bar on a set of squats because you're more out of breath than you are actually hitting leg failure. And that way you can actually therefore technically get better gains weightlifting if you had better cardio. And guys, change takes time. That's a picture of me in high school, and then that's a picture of me like a few years ago. Like, massive difference. Obviously you want to look the best that you want to look, but you got to remember that like this does take a lot of time. It does take consistency, so you really got to love what you're doing and you got to stick with it. And any little bit that you do counts. You don't have to do the most every single day, but if you just chip away at this year after year, day after day, week after week, blah blah blah, year after year, you're gonna get to where you want to be. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. Honestly, like, I tried to make this as informative as possible and throw in some motivational stuff as far as like what kind of a mindset you should have for working out. It went a little bit beyond just a workout split, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys took something from it. Take a little bit, take a lot from it, whatever it is that you can take from it, take it. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in another video. Stay tuned. I'm going to break down my diet and like how I currently eat, why I currently eat like that, and what it's doing for me in terms of like what my goals are with my diet. And spoiler alert, I have a short series called Eating for Fat Loss, so if you guys haven't checked that out, check that out. So I'm obviously dieting to lose weight, because a diet doesn't necessarily just mean dieting in terms of weight loss. A diet is just what you eat, the kinds of foods that you eat, but typically when you hear the word diet, it implies that you're dieting to lose weight, and it happens to be the case for me. So I will sign off here, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.